Thank you for joining me. Um, yeah. So, as usual, we're going to do two activities for today. We've got an activity that involves super absorbent. Oh, let me turn my um, certain things down. Sorry, guys. There we go, so that you're not dealing with that the whole time. All right, there we go. Sorry, Instagram. My bad. Okay, so today we are going to introduce our special material for the month of June. We are going to use super absorbent polymers for all of the Saturday Science Adventures with Miss Steph this month. And we're also going to do an activity that will talk a little bit about electricity and the importance of a switch. So I'll introduce that concept to you today. Hi. Once again, welcome to Saturday Science with Miss Steph. I am Miss Steph, the founder and executive director of Triple F Empowerment Inc. You are tuned in live to our weekly science fun. Let's go ahead and launch right into the video. You don't need any more introduction than that for my people who've been regularly watching. And if you haven't, you'll see why you should be watching on a regular basis. So yes, just trying to make sure that everybody can see what I've got going on here. Let's see if I can open this up a bit so I can monitor. Fabulous. Oh, raunchy. So yes, so like I said, we're going to have a super absorbent polymer at all of our Saturday Science with Miss Steph's for the month of June. Now, super absorbent polymer, what does that mean to you? It might mean nothing. Hopefully, by the end of today's session, it should mean a little something. All right. So, we are learning about polymers. Polymers are chains. Okay. So, molecules that live in a chain, mono into poly. Okay. So, molecules that instead of having like one little piece, that piece then links together as a chain, and we end up getting something called a polymer. Now, polymers, um, for example, a polymer that many people will know about would be slime. Slime is actually a polymer, okay? And so slime, the monomer, the main molecule would be glue, and the glue molecules then get linked together by your slime activator, and you get a polymer, and that's why you get that nice stretchy. That's why you turn your sticky glue into this stretchy substance, which is then a polymer. Okay. Now, when I talk about polymers are a class of molecules. It's not one type of one specific molecule. It's a class of molecules. All right. Now, or class of chemicals. Now, for today, the specific thing that we're going to use is something from Steve Spangler kits. You guys know that I like to use different. Whoa, we've got a bunch of people watching over here on Instagram. Hello. Oh, hi, guys. Um, so I like to use all kinds of different kits. I was so distracted by the fact that you guys are tuning in. So I'm sorry. Let me keep going. Thank you. Yeah. I like to introduce different kinds of kits and things that we actually would use in our science classroom over at Science Club, right? And now the science classroom is, well, the annex, and you guys know where the annex is. So this is something from our Steve Spangler kit that one of our families gave us over during summer 2019. And the fun thing about this is that it's just add water. Just add water? Come on, people. Like, what could you possibly do by just adding water? Well, guess what? We're going to find out today. I have my 3 samples. You guys know how I feel about my 3 samples. I just feel like science just works well in threes, people. Okay? So I have a sample that's been sitting for 24 hours. Let's break out my marker so that I can label my samples. If you don't have label samples, it's like really hard to kind of just make sense of anything. Okay? So this is a 24-hour sample. I started this yesterday, getting myself ready for you all. Okay? Then this sample is actually, by the time we take it out, is going to be a 5-hour sample. And this is going to be basically a 30-minute sample, right? Because we know that we spend about 30 minutes together on Saturdays. Once again, thank you so much for joining me for Saturday Science with Miss Steph. I'm sure Instagram, you're noticing that we are now doing more lives right here on Instagram, and we're doing a live on our Facebook page as well. So I'm going to take one of these. I need to make sure that it's only one. Okay. So I have this water cube. I have this cube. You see this cube? You see how little this cube is right now? Okay, we've got this little cube. Okay, that we're going to prep. I'll put it in on my spoon. Remember how I was saying just add water. So we're going to add water to this. I'm going to fill up my cup. My third sample, my 30-minute sample cup. I'm going to fill up my cup and drop in my water cube. Now, we're going to leave that until later, okay? I'll put my water cubes to the side, bring my electricity stuff over. You notice I've got 3 spoons, I've got 3 cups, and I'll put all of that over to the side for a little bit. Remember, just add water, and remember, super absorbent polymer. We'll get to observe and see for our very own eyes what super absorbent polymer means in about 29 minutes or so. Put all of that to the side. Yes. Okay. Once again, for those of you just coming on, thank you for joining me. It's Miss Steph, and we're doing Saturday Science with Miss Steph. So, folks, today we are doing some things with water, our superabsorbent polymer. And like I said, we'll use superabsorbent polymers over the next several weeks. That's our theme, special ingredient or special material for this month. Last month we did yeast with everything. We did all kinds of things with yeast. This month we'll have our super. Have I said it enough? Do you think you get a prize or something every time you like? Are you counting how many times I'm saying it? Superabsorbent polymer. Anywho. Oh, and FYI, that was relatively warm water. That is not core water. No, that's water from the tap. I am reusing that bottle. It's relatively warm water that I added to that cube. All right, so let's roll. Okay, roll forward and go ahead and have fun with our electricity activity for today. So we started learning a little bit about electricity on the Instagram live that I did on Wednesday, right? So we know that our battery is going to be our source, our power source. We also know that this is our load, our motor. Our load is the thing that we're trying to power. Our load is the thing that we want to turn on and have it move, okay? And so we'll be connecting these two in some way, right? So that we can have our motor move. We'll use these 2 pieces as our indicators, as our things that are letting us know that the motor is on, right? Because a motor will usually make something spin. And these are the 2 things that we're going to make spin today. We've got a little miniature propeller and a little wheel, right? Then we also, I'm going to put this to the side because this is our major thing that we're doing today. We've got some wires, right? Some insulated wire, as you can see. And then I've got the wire exposed on the bottom here. And I've got my alligator clip. Again, during our live on Wednesday, I talked about how the metal piece being exposed is important for the particular circuits that we're building, right? You have to make contact metal to metal for your electricity to be able to flow. And we know that electricity, the very, very simple definition of electricity, is the flow of electrons. And today, like we did in our live on Wednesday, today I actually have 3 wires. The reason I have 3 wires with the alligator clips is that I now am introducing a switch. On Wednesday, I talked about how a switch would help us have more control in our circuits. I'm going to hold this up a little bit for you all to see over here on Facebook and for you guys to get a good look at it over here on Instagram. So I've got these 2. Again, my exposed metal that I'm going to connect in some way. And then this piece, the switch. And it looks a bit like a light switch because it's that same concept. Okay? And so a switch creates a very small gap. It does not have to be large. Okay? Any gap, even if it's like 0.5 millimeter, any gap in a circuit will mean that your electricity is not flowing. And that means that whatever you're trying to turn on will not be turning on. Okay? And you do not have a complete circuit. You have what we call an open circuit. And that's why we call it an open circuit. That it's a great visual is that the gap, whenever you have a gap, no matter how big it is, right? If you've got a gap, something is open. Okay? And whenever a circuit is open, the electricity is not flowing to all of the pieces, and therefore your load, your thing you want to turn on, is not going to turn on. Your switch gives you that control of that gap. It's a controlled gap, right? So let's start to build. Again, thank you guys so much. I see folks on Instagram that joined us like just momentarily. You might not still be on, but thank you for coming on very quickly. Hello, hello. I see Crystal, Moise, Faye. Yeah. Love it. Okay. So I'm going to put my tape to the side, and I know I had some folks over here on Facebook as well. Thank you so much for joining me. Okay, so my objective is to build a complete circuit that I can control. Okay, and my switch is going to give me the control. So that means I need to build this circuit so that it's able to turn on and off based on me going just like this, right? So let's start to connect things. I'm going to use my alligator clip to connect there, right? Then I'm doing an alligator clip to connect here again. You see this prong again, metal to metal, so that my electricity can flow. Metal to metal, so that my electricity can flow. Then my insulation protects me from getting shocked, okay? That's what your insulation is doing, all right? Yes, yes, yes. We're having a great time building an electricity, a complete circuit that I can control, as then I'm adding a switch to my circuit. Metal to metal, right? I'm going to add some this here. Twist that off. You all see that? Letting you all see that, right? Thank you again. Thank you so much for joining me. Okay. Now, here's the thing that gets a little complicated when using the particular materials that I have. And that's also why I have the tape. Okay. I'm going to do alligator clip to the battery, because the battery, of course, has to go somewhere. It's not just my switch. I have to make sure my power source is included properly. If my power source is not included properly, it's not going to turn on. Okay. So I'm going to go here, connecting again, metal to metal, so that my electricity is guaranteed to flow, right? My clip's going. Now, I need to connect here, right? Got to connect my battery there. So right now I know that my circuit is, that my switch is to the on position. So I'm going to put it together very quickly shortly, right? I'm able to hear that. It's hard for you all to understand that it's happening, which is why we need the propeller and the wheel. So I'll do that briefly for you. But this is just me doing a quick test. I'm going to do that. Turn my switch to the off position. And now I'm going to take this here, and I'll anchor it in with my tape. That's why I have some tape with me today. Because the whole point of building the circuit with this switch is so that I have some control, so I don't have to just hold all the components all the time, right? Okay, taping that. I've got this, like so. Now I'm going to give myself some insulation, some additional insulation by taping the bottom so that I no longer have exposed metal. Metal is touching there. I already did my connections. I don't want my metal to continue to be exposed, right? I don't want to injure myself. Oh, there we go. Just making sure that it works again. Now, let's see if we can get our propeller to spin. We're creating a complete circuit that I can control, right? And that's what a switch does. A switch means I'm able to control the gap. I'm able to make it be an open or closed circuit without having to take my circuit all the way apart. I can just go like this. Notice how my circuit is still essentially maintained. And I just flip of the switch, okay? At a flip of the switch, I'm able to control and turn and make sure that my circuit, it has been completed, all right? So I'm going to actually turn this off. And now I'll demonstrate my closed circuit using, using my wheel. Using my wheel. Okay. So now I've got a wheel, and that wheel, you should be able to tell, is spinning. All right. So today, for our electricity or engineering activity, we were able to build a complete circuit that has control. That's what your switch is doing. It's giving you more control over your circuit. Now, does it look nice and pretty and perfect and all that kind of stuff? No, it doesn't. Okay. But in this manner, it's easier for you to see all the pieces that have gone into making my complete circuits with a switch. All right, and so I'm going to dismantle my pieces. It's always important as an engineer to understand the pieces that you've put together, and to be able to not only build but dismantle it in a safe way. Okay, taking my apart to be used for another activity at another time. Remember, guys, you can send me a request on both either Instagram or Facebook. Send me a message or whatever you would like, message, or even in the comments as you're watching the live. A comment or a request, or like I said, a DM asking for a specific subject matter or a specific special ingredient or special material, right? Because that's what a scientist call ingredients, materials. Okay. All right. So I'm going to bring this over. Excuse me a moment. I'm going to turn some lighting on. I'm going to fix the lighting. outside. So thank you so much. All right, so let's keep going. We're coming back to our super absorbent polymer. All right, and a polymer, as I was saying, is a type of, it's a classification of chemicals where you have the main molecule is linked together in a special way. And one of the classic or famous polymers that you might be aware of is slime. Okay, slime is a polymer. Also, plastics are polymers. Okay, so I'm using polymer cups made out of polymer to hold my super absorbent polymer. And the way that we are getting to absorb our super absorbent polymer is by adding some water. And I specifically added water that's a little on the warm side because that actually helps the polymer do what it does. I don't want to tell you what it does just yet because I want you to see. Okay? So I'm going to take my spoon. If you recall, we started out with one of these little cubes. Okay? We started out with one of these little cubes. Do you see how little those cubes are? And these are specifically something from a Steve Spangler kit. For those of you who don't know, Steve Spangler is another science teacher that does kits and all that type of stuff. Okay? Totally not sponsoring this video. It just happens to be materials we're using. Okay, so do you see how big that cube now is? So when I say super absorbent, so it absorbed the water and expanded. It became larger, right? So it started out as a little bit cube. And over time, the polymer, it likes water. So the water molecules get stuck, okay, and woven into next to the polymer, okay? And when that happens, then the cube now gets bigger. Okay, and when I put it back, it looks almost like there's nothing inside of the cup, right? Do you see? It looks like, it looked like it was just water inside of that cup. So now let's examine. Okay, we're kind of going backwards, right? Now let's examine what it looks like when it has just been in for 5 hours. Okay, so you see how it's not fully expanded just yet. I know, right? It's cool, Jen. Right. My fellow scientist Fred, like it's really cool. Polymers are awesome. And FYI, super absorbent polymers are what's essentially in diapers. Okay. That's the chemical that's in diapers, and that makes it so that the diapers, that's the absorbent portion of the diaper, are super absorbent polymers. Okay, that's why when you pick up one, I don't want to go too far in detail, but that's not too full. It's it's not liquid in there, right? Because the liquid has been captured by the polymer. All right. So yes, so this is a super absorbent polymer inside of each of these cups, right? And the last one that I just picked up was our 30-minute sample. We haven't been on for quite 30 minutes just yet, but that was our 30-minute sample. We're going to do a little something before we go, right? So these are, again, super absorbent polymers, and super absorbent polymers come in different forms. And next week, I'll show you yet another form, okay? But this was our water cube, the little water cube that we had. Now, I think we should do a little something with color, because you all know how I feel about color. Color makes everything better. Take that however you want to. And yes, color makes everything better, people. So I'm going to add some color, little color things, so that you can be able to see what's going on in our cups a little easier. All right, so I'm going to use, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's take a little pellet. Okay, this is yet another feat of science. Okay, our pigment is actually going to be in the form of a pellet today. Okay, and I've got 3 different colors, which is perfect because I have 3 different samples. Once again, thank you so much for joining me for Saturday Science with Miss Steph. And we are on here every Saturday, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, and doing some fun science activities. As I mentioned, this particular month, for the month of June, our special material that we'll be using and exploring is our superabsorbent polymers. And they actually come in many different forms. And the particular form that we used today was something from the Steve Spangler, one of the Steve Spangler kits. And these are just these little water cubes. We're having fun with the water cubes today. So let's move on to the next step. As I promised, let's add a little color. Hello. Before I add color, let's think about this a little bit. I have liquid in here, and you already know I have a solid in here. Okay, liquid. I have a solid that is absorbed a portion of the liquid. Okay, and then I have this solid pellet. So as scientists, it's important for us to kind of think through and predict a bit and go, I wonder if my pellet is it going to dissolve? Is it going to fizz? Will there be a smell? Will there be a sound? Right? We want to think through those things and be ready to observe what happens as soon as the liquid makes contact with our pellet. All right, so who's ready? Are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. See it? You see it starting to kind of happen a little bit. So I'm getting a bit of a fizz. I'll turn this around to you so you can see my label. Okay. So it's doing a slight fizz, but you notice it's landed right on top of that cube, right? It's letting you know that there's something inside of there, even though before the pigment was in there, it looked like there was nothing inside of our cup, right? But now the pigment tablet or pellet is sitting right on top of our little our polymer cube, right? So now let's add the next color, right, to our 5-hour sample. Okay. Now you notice the change is happening faster because when I dropped it in, our 5-hour sample actually takes up less space in the cup. And so it made direct contact. When I put that in, it actually made direct contact with the water. Okay. And so because of that, it dissolved and started to fizz and all that stuff a lot faster. Whereas this one, it's still sitting on top of the cube, and it's not really, it's only making a little bit of contact with the water that happens to be just over the space. Okay. And I can hear a bit of a fizz. All right, so let's add to our third sample, our sample that we know has not expanded quite as much as the other 2 samples because it's only been sitting for now about 30 minutes. Drop. And again, similar to the red, it made contact with the water because it's not being obstructed by the cube that it's in there. And that is really going to town. See the color? I mean, that the color of the water changed very quickly, and I am getting a nice fizz, guys. Right? So fun. Such fun. Right? So awesome, so fabulous. Now, we're coming to the end of our time together, folks. It's been fun hanging out with you and doing Saturday Science with Miss Steph again, once again. My name is Stephanie Farmer, and I am the founder and executive director of Triple F Empowerment Inc. Join us here, or rather, me, and then us as a community online. You see where I'm going there. Join me here every Saturday at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, okay, for some science fun. We always do 2 activities, and we have a theme material for a theme chemical that we'll be going over this month, and that theme chemical will be superabsorbent polymer. And we got to see today what superabsorbent means, meaning it starts as a small thing, and then if you add it into water, right now, I mean, today we use water, but I wonder if we use some other liquid. But if you add it into water, the polymer grabs onto the water, yes, and it helps the whole thing together expand. So there's a couple different things we could do with this. We could figure out whether or not it only will expand with water. We could consider what happens if you just leave the superabsorbent polymer out to see whether or not evaporation will make the polymer shrink back again, or if the polymer is able to hold on to the liquid. We could see whether or not the polymer will absorb the color of the liquid that it's in. I mean, there are a lot of different things that we could see and notice and observe. So yeah, those are some hints about what we'll be doing over the next couple of weeks with our super absorbent polymer. Thank you for joining me. I had a great time bringing you the super absorbent polymer and teaching you about switches, right? Remember, we did a little activity. For those of you who just joined us, I invite you to go back and watch the rest of the video so that you can make sure that you learn about switches as well. Switches as in things that help us control circuits. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll see you right back here next week.